आला मकाम आया, रहे मुक़द्दर हुज़ूर हक़ से सलाम आया, पयाम आया। झुकाओ नजरे बिछाओ पलके, अदब का आला मकाम आया, रहे मुक़द्दर। ये कौन सर पे कफन लपेटे, चला है उल्फत के रास्ते पर। ये कौन सर पे कफन लपेटे, चला है उल्फत के रास्ते पर। फरिश्ते हैरत से थक रहे हैं, ये कौन सी है तेरा माया। झोंकाओ नजरे बिछाओ पलके, अदब का आला मकाम आया, रहे मुक़द्दर। ये राहे हक है संभल के चलना, यहाँ है मंजिल कदम कदम पर। ये राहे हक है संभल के चलना, यहाँ है मंजिल कदम कदम पर। पहुँचना दर पर तो कहना आका, सलाम लीजिए गुलाम आया, रहे मुक़द्दर हुज़ूर हक़ से सलाम आया, पयाम आया। झुकाओ नजरे पहुँचना दर पर तो कहना आका, बहुत से आशिक तड़प रहे हैं। पहुँचना दर पर तो कहना आका, बहुत से आशिक तड़प रहे हैं। बुलावे के मुंतज़िर है लेकिन न सुबह आया न शाम आया, रहे मुक़द्दर हुज़ूर हक़ से सलाम आया, पयाम आया। झुकाओ नजरे बिछाओ पलके, अदब का आला मकाम आया, रहे मुक़द्दर। Junaid bhai, mashallah, it's a wonderful voice and he composed very good naat, nasheed. I would select just one from his collection. I hope you would like it, inshallah. मोहम्मद का रोज़ा करीब आ रहा है, बुलंदी पे अपना नसीब आ रहा है। फरिश्तों ये दे दो पैगाम उनको, खबर जाके दे दो उनको। फरिश्तों के खादिम तुम्हारा सईद आ रहा है, बुलंदी पे अपना नसीब आ रहा है। वफा तुम न देखोगे हरगिज़ किसी में, ज़माना वो ऐसा करीब आ रहा है। वफा तुम न देखोगे हरगिज़ किसी में, ज़माना वो ऐसा करीब आ रहा है। मोहम्मद का रोज़ा करीब आ रहा है, बुलंदी पे अपना नसीब आ रहा है। हिफाजत करो अपनी ईमान दी की, ज़माना वो ऐसा अजीब आ रहा है। मदीना मदीना बड़ा लुत्फ देता है नामे मदीना क़यामत का मंजर करीब आ रहा है बुलंदी पे अपना नसीब आ रहा है फरिश्तों ये दे दो पैगाम उनको फरिश्तों ये दे दो पैगाम उनको खबर जाके दे दो उनको फरिश्तों के खादिम तुम्हारा सईदा रहा है निगाहों में सुल्तानियत ही होगी जो पाएगा दिल में मकामे मदीना सुकूने जहां तुम कहां ढूंढते हो सुकूने जहां है क़यामे मदीना 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 बड़ा लुत्फ देता है नामे मदीना क़यामत का मंजर करीब आ रहा है फरिश्तों ये दे दो पैगाम उनको खबर जाके दे दो उनको फरिश्तों के खादिम तुम्हारा सईदा रहा है बुलंदी पे अपना नसीब आ रहा है Thank you so much. Shall I start the talk now? Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The title of the talk is Quran and Modern Science. And I think it would be rather difficult to cover this topic in such short time because we have a lot of Quranic verses that deals with the modern sciences. But before I could proceed the talk, I just make one thing clear, that we understand that Quran, this science is an ever-changing field. And we do see a lot of controversies, conflicts in the scientific discoveries. But in this topic, in this talk, I have selected a few facts that are universally accepted. And there is no question about that. Although there are many minor details in the Holy Quran where it tells us about every minor scientific mechanism of the diseases, of the embryology, astronomy, geography, botany, and all these information are beautifully covered in the Quran. And we do understand that Quran is not a book of science. And neither we need any endorsement for science. But Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whose wisdom is vast and definite. His wisdom is covering everything. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beautifully covered, keeping the challenges of the modern era. He's covered some scientific facts that we will go through, and he will inshallah be with us. Although there are many students and doctors sitting over here, and we are unable to even understand the diseases like asthma, psychiatry, even cancer, diabetes, hypertension. We are unable to understand even their mechanistic so far. But this topic, of course, will cover some of the scientific facts. So we'll start with the verse from Surah Al-Imran. وَلِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And to Allah belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. In Allah His power over all things. إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And behold, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ, in alternation of the night and the day, لَآيَاتِ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ, there are signs for men of understanding. الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ, those who remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sitting, standing, sitting down, and lying on their sides, وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, and give thoughts to the creation of the heavens and the earth. رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا, oh Lord, you have not created them without purpose. Glory be to you. سُبْحَانَكَ فَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ, glory be to you, and protects us against the hellfire. And of course, everything in the universe openly say that there is someone who is created, who is maintaining, sustaining all this universe. Look at the galaxies, look at the universe, look at the things around you, look at the plants, and even within you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made signs. And these signs are an eye-opener. And you may find many people, I will give you some example over here, some scientists who did not believe in Islam, and they had no interaction with any scientist, they have no interaction with any Islamic scholars, but on the basis of scientific facts, they were able to accept Islam. This is the most, so it's both Iman rejuvenating and people and attracting toward Islam. Because Quran is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the surah for Salat, verse number 53. سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتِنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ. We will show them our signs فِي الْآفَاقِ in the horizon, وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ within themselves, حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ until it becomes clear to them أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ that this Quran is the truth. So we understand that Quran was revealed about 14 centuries ago, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a practical example of Quran, and he invited people to follow this Quran because the salvation lies here. The true guidance, the definition of wrong and bad and good is described beautifully in Quran. Something that we say by our own definition, maybe something we say today is good, but in the coming, people may say that was wrong. But whatever Quran has described bad or good, that is forever bad and good, period. The Quran has a scientific, this is a miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and alhamdulillah, due to these discoveries in the modern science, because of the availability of technology, the unprecedented research in medical technologies and information technology and engineering and other fields. So Quran deals every aspect. If you judge Quran at any level, be it scientific, legal, social, or any level, you will find that it does not contradict with the human nature, with the philosophy. You won't find. Otherwise, and contrary, you might find many books, religious books, in the past they said something which they do not keep them till now. They are changing their comments, they are changing their concepts, updating their reviews, their comments, their opinion. But Quran is consistently saying, throughout the book, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed many things in consistent way. This is a miracle of Quran. So look at the astronomy, for example, sun and moon. So initially, many people believe this probably it is the sun, which is a source of light. And some religious book thought maybe both sun and moon, they are the source of light. They did not believe which one is the source of light. But it is only the Quran, about 14 centuries ago, it says, تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ فِي السَّمَاءِ بُرُوجًا وَجَعَلَ فِيهَا سِرَاجًا وَقَمَرًا مُنِيرًا. It is the Quran who distinguishes between the sun and the moon, the qamar and siraj. Whenever you say to the sun, when Quran refers to the sun, it says siraj, wahaj, radiyah. So all these are the scientific, if you go to the Arabic dictionary, many Arabic brothers, they would definitely understand it better than me, that siraj is like a radiant lamp, something which is a source of light, something that gives light. And munir is for the qamar. Munir is just a reflection. So it was mentioned 14 centuries ago, 1400 years ago, and by the modern astronomy, by different equipments, we have come to know that now sun is the source of light, and moon is just the reflection. Qamar is just the reflection. And everywhere in the Quran, it says, تَبَارَكَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ فِي السَّمَاءِ بُرُوجًا وَجَعَلَ فِيهَا سِرَاجًا وَقَمَرًا مُنِيرًا. Blessed is he who set up constellation in the skies and place among them the radiant lamp, which is the sun, وَقَمَرًا مُنِيرًا, and light-giving moon. So the moon is an inner body which reflects light, whereas the sun is a celestial body in the state of permanent combustion, producing both light and heat. We understand the sun is the source of light. It actually gives light. And there's another verses in Surah Nuh, ayah number 15 to 16. أَلَمْ تَرَوْا كَيْفَ خَلَقَ اللَّهُ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ طِبَاقًا. Do you not see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created seven heaven in the full harmony with one another in the layers? وَجَعَلَ قَمَرًا, and then He made the moon فِيهِنَّ نُورًا, giving light. وَجَعَلَ الشَّمْسَ سِرَاجًا, and a radiant lamp. Sun is a radiant lamp. وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا. This is Surah An-Naba, verse 12 to 13. وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَاجًا. So we have built above you seven strong heavens, and have placed therein the sun, a lamp full of blazing splendor. So if you look at this comparison, the Arabic word for the sun in the Quran is shams. It is referred to as siraj, which means a torch or lamp, or as wahaj, which means a blazing lamp, or diya, which means shining glory. Now come to the moon. The Arabic word for the moon is qamar, and it is described in the Quran as munir, which is a body that gives nur, that is light. Moon does not give off light itself. It is just an inner body, and it reflects the light of the sun. So it was mentioned 1400 years ago. So we have been able to know them very recently. The sun is the source of light. And you be, of course, amazing that how could a person who is sitting in a desert, like in Mecca and Medina, he could make such a universal facts. Of course, it describes this in the word of Allah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created everything. وَالْأَوَّلْ وَالْآخِرْ وَالظَّاهِرْ وَالْبَاطِنْ وَهُوَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. He is the knowledge of everything, because He is the first. He will remain the last. He is open everywhere. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, and He revealed this to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And that will be the last book. Quran is the last book for till the last minute, till the day of judgment. وَهُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ اللَّيْلَ وَالنَّهَارَ وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. Quran does not only speaks of the sun and moon, but it also gave us the rotation, the solar system, entire solar system. Surah Yasin, Surah Nur, and many verses of the Quran speaks about the rotation of the planets. Like for example, He is who created the night, the day, the sun, the moon. كُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. يَسْبَحُونَ, they are floating in each in orbit. يَسْبَحُونَ, Tafsir Ibn Kathir, they mention يَسْبَحُونَ is something which is floating, like a circular movements. And there are many other verses which deals with the orbits. And from the current astronomical research, we know that the large bodies, for example, they exert gravitational forces on the smaller bodies. For example, moon. Moon is rotating around the earth, which is a little bit bigger in size. So the earth is rotating. Earth and other planets are rotating around the sun, because the sun is exerting gravitational forces. So this sun is then again even rotating against a big solar system, the galaxies. So we have this beautifully mentioned in the Quran, وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْحُبُكِ. It tells about the paths in the skies, by the heavens full of paths. Surah Dariyat, verse 7. So the meandering of the water, sand, and plants, when the wind passes over them, they produce a path. Like if you throw a stone in a pool, in a water, you may see the circular movements. This is called hubuk. And hubuk is also for the perfection, the perfect way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the heavens and the earth beautifully. And it's also for the orbits, because when the wind passes over sand, you may see a wavy movements. When you put a stone in the water, you may see a circular movements. This is what Quran speaks about وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْحُبُكِ. So you may be, appreciate the beauty in this universe, in the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that none of these bodies cut across each other. You won't see any conflict in them. They are in harmony in their own path. See here the solar system, the orbits, the planets, and the Earth. And we've been mentioned that the sun was stationary for a very long time. Even now, many books they say the sun is stationary. But Quran says, "La shamsu yanbaghi laha an tudrika al-qamara, wa la al-laylu sabiqu an-nahar, wa kullun fi falakin yasbahun." Surah Yasin, verse number 40. And it's not possible for the sun. It's not possible for the sun to overtake the moon, nor does the night overtake the day. They all float each in an orbit. So they are beautifully rotating in an orbit in very specified moments. This is a beautiful designing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those who believe in coincidence, just think for a while, is it possible there's such a complicated system? I mean, it's just by the coincidence? This is the intellectual creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one who is maintaining. So shape of the earth, of course everybody would be knowing about this one. For a very long time people believed that maybe the earth is flat. And for a very long time, like for example ancient Egypt, for example, classical Greece, classical India, even the 17th century China, they believed that the earth is flat. And then gradually the Greek astronomers, they introduced for the first time the paradigm of spherical or rather round earth. So the false belief that even was in the Middle Ages of Christianity, they believed that the earth is flat, and that has been referred to as the major mistake in the history. And it is mentioned in the Great Britain Historical Association is one of the second biggest misconcept out of 20 mistakes in the world, in the history of world. So the people believe that the earth is flat. Even Christopher Columbus, when he tried to discover the western way to Asia, he faced a lot of opposition. The people say, how could you go around like that in a round way? The earth is flat, you may fall off. People are even afraid for a very long time. But look at the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes in a beautiful way how it is possible. The Quran first time described the earth as a spherical. It is like an egg shape. It's not like even round, circular. It is like egg shape, stretched at the poles. So this is later on when the Greek astronomers introduced Plato, who was a student of Socrates, and he believed that if you soar very high above the clouds, you may see the earth like a round ball. And Aristotle, who is a student of Plato, he also believed that there are some stars that can be seen in Egypt and Cyprus, but they cannot be seen in other northern regions. So it's possible only if the earth is round or spherical. So even another evidence for the earth to be round or spherical is the earth's shadow on the moon during a lunar eclipse is round. It is round in shape. So look at the Quran, how Quran describes the way, the shape of the earth. خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ بِالْحَقِّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created the heaven and the earth for truth. يُكَبِّرُ اللَّيْلَ عَلَى النَّهَارِ. So he overlaps the night with the day. وَيُكَبِّرُ النَّهَارَ عَلَى اللَّيْلِ. And then he overlaps the day with the night. So this overlapping, beautifully, alhamdulillah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describe this in the Quran. يُكَبِّرُ اللَّيْلَ. Yukabbir, just like overlapping, like we put the turban. When you put the turban on your head, it's just like overlapping the clothes. So this is overlapping is only possible on a round body, not on a flat body. It's like a flat, how you can do the overlapping. And of course, yukabbiru layla. There is another, yughshi layla nahara yatlabuhu hafitha. So Surah Al-A'raf, verse 54, he brings the night as a cover over the day, seeking it rapidly. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala covering the night and the day. And there is other verses of the Quran, like for example, the word takbir has been used for the yukabirul layl, which is a turban, like you are folding something, like we are folding the turban around the head. And here is تُولِجُ اللَّيْلَ فِي النَّهَارِ وَتُولِجُ النَّهَارَ فِي اللَّيْلِ. So Allah, you make the night enter into the day, and you make the day enter into the night. Surah Al-Imran, verse 27. So merging here means that the night slowly and gradually changes to the day and vice versa. So if this phenomena can only take place if the earth is spherical or round. So if the earth was flat, there would have been a sudden change from night to the day and from day to the night. So there will be a sudden change all the time in the universe. You may see, for example, here, now in America, we have Isha Salah, in Pakistan, in India, now preparing for the Fajr. They're already done with the Fajr, maybe mid of the day. So this is only possible if the earth is round or spherical. So it may not be possible if the earth is flat. So you can see also if the weather, like for example the shape of the earth and the sun rays hitting the earth. For example, you could see here in the equator where the sun rays are very much perpendicular or horizontal. So you may see the weather is very hot over there. But in this region, you can see they are just inclined. I mean, they are slanting, so they are not direct. So you may see the change in the weather also. The intensity of the sun rays are also changing because of the spherical shape of the earth. So formation of the rain was another mechanism. And very recently we know that the radar system and the computer system, we have the instruments available and we can measure the humidity. And then we can have a prediction, forecasting for the weather, maybe 10 days, maybe for the month. So sometimes you go by prediction, like for example, tomorrow it will be colder, or it will be raining, or cloudy, or partly cloudy. So this mechanism was beautifully described in the Quran, the formation of rain, the true mechanisms. So what exactly in the rain formation we see? We see there is, of course, we need the clouds. Clouds is the source of rain. So how these clouds are formed, nobody knew about that. Yes, of course, everyone knew that the rain is coming from the sky and from the clouds, right? But how these clouds are formed, in the astronomy books, you may not find it. I mean, if you go in 14th century ago, 1400 years ago, you may not find the description of how these clouds are formed. They didn't have these modern instruments. They were not technologically advanced. They had no such research where they can find how much humidity is there. So now, the first stage is the raw material of the rain, which is, the vapors, the water vapors that are rising by the wind. And later these clouds are formed, and finally raindrops appear. So now look at the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allahu alladhi yursilu riyaha fatuthiru sahaba. And it is Allah who sends the wind so that they raise clouds. فَيَبْسُطُهُ فِي السَّمَاءِ كَيْفَ يَشَاءُ. And then He spread these clouds along the sky. وَيَجْعَلُهُ كِسَفًا. And then He breaks them into fragments until you see raindrops come forth from the midst. فَتَرَى الْوَدْقَ يَخْرُجُ مِنْ خِلَالِهِ. So this is Surah Rum, verse number 48. It says the various formation. The first wind is coming, and raising the vapors, making the clouds. These clouds are in fragments. These fragments are then making bigger clouds. And even in other verses, it clearly describes the mechanism, the true mechanism, how this rain is formed. And beautifully, it is really in harmony and matching with the recent research that we know. For example, Alam tara anna Allah. Have you not seen how Allah drives along the clouds? Anna Allah yusji sahaba thumma yuallifa baynahu. And how does it say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then drives the cloud along the clouds, and then He joined them together. ثُمَّ يَجْعَلُهُ رُكَامًا. And then He made them into layers, like stack. And then فَتَرَى الْوَدْقَ يَخْرُجُ مِنْ خِلَالِهِ. And then you see that from the middle of the clouds, the rain is coming, pouring down. So this is really very beautiful. This is the mechanism of the rain formation. How it talks about the way the rain is formed. Look at the formation of the rain. The first stage, of course, is the winds they are coming. So you could see there are countless air bubbles that are formed because of the frothing of the sea and the ocean. You may see frothing and this foaming. These bubbles are breaking up, when these bubbles are breaking up, they are ejecting water particles. So these water particles are called aerosols. And these aerosols are basically taken up by the wind. And these aerosols are taken up when they are rising very high. We know that the temperature above is, getting dropped. You see the drop in temperature that condenses these vapors, these aerosols, and become this condensation, make them clouds, very small pieces of clouds. When these small pieces of clouds are there, then the wind is basically stirring these clouds, bringing them together, and stacking them in layers. Even if you are flying in a plane, if you just see through the window, you might see the cloud structure is upward. They are just raising upward. You may see the projection on the surface of the cloud. You won't see the surface of the clouds from above uniform or smooth. You will see the projections. They are stretching towards the cooler part. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing for Khalid, that this rain is coming from the midst. So they produce equally the spaces. So these projections, I will show you in the slide, are basically exposing the surface of the clouds toward the cooler part of the atmosphere. So when it's getting cooler, so definite condensation, our time reaches when these drops are so much condensed, become water, and these clouds cannot maintain them, sustain them. So now the rain formation starts. So this is I already mentioned, and I will just show you the slide, the mechanism of the cloud. So this is basically even the modern theory of the rain formation, that first the clouds are pushed away by the wind, and then they are joined together, is mentioned in the words of the Quran, and there is a stacking, or you could see the layering of these clouds. And here I will just show you, these are the small clouds here. You can see these are small pieces. When the vapors are ejected, the water particles are ejected, they are taken up by the wind, and condensation is taking place. These are small pieces of clouds. They are coming together, and they are making them a big cloud. These are layers of clouds, and finally when there are big layers of clouds and there is a stacking, you may see there is an upward movement of this cloud. If you see the upper surface of the cloud, you can see here the projections. And remember, this projection, this part is the cooler part. So when they go up in the atmosphere, so you may see it is cooling down. Ultimately, you see the rain coming from the midst, from the middle. That is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran. When this water is dropping in the form of rain, so it produces a driving force. So it means from the side of the cloud, they will be driven up. And that cycle will be continued until the whole of the mass of the clouds is condensed and the rain formation takes place. So this is again the same thing. The formation of the rain. And there are another miracles of the Quran that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, while sitting in Makkah, talks about the marine barriers in the Quran. Marajal bahrayni yaltaqiyan. He has let loose the two seas, meeting together. Bainahuma barzakhul la yab'iyan. And with a barrier between them, they do not break through. Then which of your Lord blessing will you deny? فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. And in many verses of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned about these barriers. At that time, there was no such ships are available, and nobody could know that there are certain masses of sea where they are coming together, and there is barrier between them. Look at another verse of the Quran, Surah Furqan, verse 53 and 54. وَهُوَ الَّذِي مَرَجَ الْبَحْرَيْنِ. And it is He who has let free the two seas. هَذَا عَذْبٌ فُرَاتٌ. And this is palatable and sweet. وَهَذَا مِلْحٌ وَجَاجٌ. And this is salty and bitter in taste. So He has set a barrier. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَهُمَا بَرْزَحًا. And barzakha, and there is a barrier between them. And وَحِجْرًا مَحْجُورًا. And there is a complete partition between them. So now look at the other verses, even this is mentioned again, the same way. And this is even recently discovered that if look at the Gibraltar region, the Mediterranean Sea is entering into the Atlantic Ocean here. So when you see here, when these seas are coming together, you look at the salinity. It maintains its own salinity, osmolarity, even the taste. And it is for 1,000 meters deep. And you will see this Atlantic Ocean is full of strong waves. Strong waves are coming, but you will still see that there is a partition between them. And this is phenomena is even in River Nile in Egypt, people are doing it. In Sudan, I mean, they have seen it. When they come together, two rivers, they never break through. There is a partition between them. And it is because of their characteristic. And they maintain their characteristic for a very long, several kilometers. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this was revealed by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who was sitting in Makkah, in Medina, and he was talking about universal facts taking place somewhere in the universe. So of course this is evidence that Quran is the word of Allah. So I'll quickly go through the sex of the baby. Remember, for a very long time nobody knew what is going to determine the sex of the baby. Some people say it might be the mother, and some say maybe both. And even women were blamed for not giving a male baby, a baby boy, because they think probably it is the female ovum, the egg, which is the determinant factor for the sex of the baby. So, but we have different way in the Quran. So in the Quran we have been given that it is stated that masculinity and femininity is created out of a drop of sperm which has been ejected. Subhanallah, look at this. In even this minor detail, like for example the molecular genetics and molecular biology, we have been able to understand what exactly is the sperm, what exactly is the ovum, and what are the chromosomes that are determining. So if you look at the words, وَأَنَّهُ خَلَقَ الزَّوْجَيْنِ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى مِن نُطْفَةٍ إِذَا تُمْنَى. He has created both sexes, male and female, from a drop of semen which has been ejected. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it is not the ovum that determines the sex of the baby, it is the sperm that determines the sex of the baby. And I will tell you in the other slide, even in many other verses of the Quran, it says the same, very consistently. So if you look here, so basically we all know, in reproduction, that there is a fertilization, okay? The sperm fuses with the ovum, so then zygote is formed. So this zygote, if the sperm has got X and Y chromosome, remember, the sperm has got X and Y chromosome, while the ovum is just 2 X chromosome. The masculinity is determined by Y, not by X. So the ovum is got X only. The sperm is got X and Y. So it means if there is a fusion of X and Y, so the zygote, the baby would be male. If it is XX, then the baby would be female. So that is described in the Quran 1400 years ago. And just imagine, and we have just been able by the modern biology and molecular genetics that the sperm determines the sex of the baby. So you look here, this is if you look the parent, this is a XY from the father, and this is from the mother, XX. So you know we have the one pair of chromosome, which is our sex chromosome, that determine the sex of the baby. For example, sperm is X and Y. So one should come from here, from the father, and another should come from the ovum, which is X. So if X combined with the X of the sperm, the baby would be female. If this X combined with the Y, so the XY, the baby would be male, XY chromosome. And that has been described in the Quran. So embryology is another topic beautifully described in the Quran, and many scientists believe in it. There is no match of that. Even Keith Moore, many medical doctors, they would be knowing this. Keith Moore is the professor of embryology, human embryology, a legendary professor of Canada. So he was amazed when he was presented these verses to him, that how beautifully the steps that he has described for the embryonic development in human. He was astonished that how a person could say such thing which is really correct in its sequence. And Keith Moore basically described this in a very much detail, that it says, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ سُلَالَةٍ مِنْ طِينٍ ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَا نُطْفَةً فِي قَرَارٍ مَكِينٍ ثُمَّ خَلَقْنَا نُطْفَةً عَلَقَةً فَخَلَقْنَا عَلَقَةً مُضْغَةً فَخَلَقْنَا مُضْغَةً عِظَامًا فَكَسَوْنَا عِظَامًا لَحْمًا. Now you can see here that he created this human being from the extract of a clay pea. Strong, millions and millions of sperm are released, and just only one sperm fertilizing the egg is responsible for the formation of zygote. And look at this extract, selected sperm, and then ثم خلقنا نطفة. It's like, beginning is like a nutfa, and this nutfa is like a alaqa. And this alaqa is basically leash-like structure, something which clings, something which like a clot, like a flesh. So all these details, for example, then we made the nutfa into a clot. فَخَلَقْنَا الْعَلَقَ مُضْعَةً. Mud'a is something in Arabic, if you chew something, like a gum for example, it structures like that. And even when Professor Keith Al-Moore was asked about that, he did some research, and he observed the embryological development by the modern technology, and he found it resembling the leech. Alaqa is like leech-like structure. And mud'a is something like you chew a gum for example. When you chew a gum, when you look at the structure of the embryo at that stage, like maybe after 3 or 4 weeks, you find the great resemblance. And you say it is exactly the same. First is the leech-like structure, which sucks, and it's implanted in the endometrium. It's taking the blood from the mother endometrial cell, and then this is replicating, and dividing, and becoming this into like a chew-like structure, like you chew a gum, for example. And then after that, then he made the adama, this bones. Then he covered the bones with the flesh. Like we see, even if you see in the embryology, first is the zygote formation, this is the mud'a, the alaqa, then comes the mud'a, then after then is the bone formation, and for the bone formation you have the muscle, the skin and all the flesh around that. So it is beautifully described in a true sequence that we find in the modern embryological books. فَتَبَارَكَ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنُ الْخَالِقِينَ. So blessed is Allah, the best of creators. Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of creators. So there are many verses in the Quran speaks about all these phenomena, human embryonic development. Like you look at this is a alaqa. This is a leech-like structure. So I just will show you the Keith Al-Moore structure that he described. Like this is a leech-like structure. You can see this is the human embryo at the age of being just few weeks, and this is the leech. The clear is not only resembling the structure of the leech, but also the function. The leech is sucking the blood, so this embryo is sucking the blood and nutrients from the endometrium. And this was produced by in the embryology book, you may find it. And Keith Al-Moore conducted few research and then found this really resembling the leech structure. In the mud'a, look at the mud'a in this stage. When you look at the stage, this is the embryo, like 26 days, and then you have a gum. When you chew it, you may find the teeth marks, and these teeth marks are somites here, which are resembling the mud'a. Mud'a in Arabic, something which is chewed like a chewing gum. So there is another thing about the fingerprinting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically says, أَحْسَبُ الْإِنسَانُ وَنَجْعَلُ الْعِظَامَ بَلَا قَادِرِينَ عَلَىٰ أَن نُّسَوِّيَ بَنَانًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically mentions that it's almost time. I'll just in 1 minute. Does man think that we shall not assemble his bones? Yes, we are able to put together in perfect order the tips of his fingers. If you look at the fingerprinting, even if you look at the twins, identical twins, they have different fingerprinting. Every person on the face of earth, from Adam alayhi salam till the last person to appear till the day of judgment, will have a definite, of course, very unique pattern. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, بَلَا قَادِرِينَ عَلَىٰ أَن نُّسَوِّيَ بَنَانًا, towards the fingerprinting. And we have recently discovered that this could be used as identity one, like a barcode. Everyone got a barcode. So this is all about the fingerprintings. Of course, recently cloning was another dolly. Creation was another breakthrough in science. And many people say maybe the Dajjal, or many Muslims is emotional, and they were so much preparing after the Dajjal. If you look at the dolly, even who created the dolly, from where they get the cell. The dolly has 3 donors, one from which they get the cell. Remember, the donor, the cells were taken from the mammary gland of a sheep, and there was another sheep from where they got the ovum, the egg. They removed the nucleus from the ovum, and they put this cell nucleus into that ovum, and then there was surrogate mother. So they have used 3 sheep. 3 sheep for the generation of 1, and how they created this. When dolly was born, remember, from the first day, the age of the dolly was 6 years. From the first, while baby is 0 meter, 0, first day. While Dolly was 6 years, because the cell that was taken from the Dolly was 6 years old. So what happened to them basically? Look at the way, the probability. The cells were taken from 6-year-old sheep, and 277 cells were fused with the 277 fertilized, unfertilized eggs. So only 29 were able to be successful. And these 29 were then implanted in the endometrium, in the uterus of the sheep, another sheep, and only one gave birth. So the probability is just 0.3%. And look at the nature, 35 to 50% fertilized eggs develop. So what happened? After 6 years, Dolly died. Because the lifespan of the sheep is 11 years. So just 11 years. Because at the 11 years, the lifespan, so when she was born, she was already 6 years old. Though it was a small baby, they cannot take the cell from the small infant or the young sheep because it may not be fully functional. So they took the cell from the mature adult sheep, and that was a problem. The Dolly died finally. And these are the further readings. You can go through it. And thank you so much for your attention. If any question, I can address maybe after Salah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ishfaq. It's a pleasure having you here again. Inshallah.